Hare Krishna. Could everyone please say Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna.
Could you please say a little more loudly? Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Thank you. I always like to ask everyone to chant, because I think even if what I say is completely rubbish, which it shouldn't be, because we're supposed to speak well Bhagavad-gita, but at least if everyone chants, there's definitely some positive benefit. Chant these names of God and your life will be sublime. So everyone please chant with us also this very nice prayer to Radha and Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava. Everyone can chant and see the beautiful forms of Radha and Madhava, Radha Govinda, and in this way absorb our minds and our hearts in Radha and Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunati Ravana Chari. Yamunati Ravana Chari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunati Ravana Chari. Yamunati Ravana Chari. Kunja Bihari. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad-gita as it is, chapter 15, text number 10, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of Swami. Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam vadunanvitam vimurha nanu pashanti jnana chakshushaha. Lord Krishna says, the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Purport. The word jnana chakshushaha is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves his present body, nor what form of body he is going to take in the next life, nor even why he is living in a particular type of body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavad-gita and similar literatures heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances, and he is enjoying under certain circumstances under the spell of material nature. As a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. Persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and their stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person in such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. Therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general, for their conditional life is very much troublesome. They should come out of it and be Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual world. Utkramantam sthitam vapi vunjanam vagunanvitam vimurha nanu pashanti jnana chakshushaha. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. We find in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna uses the word murha quite often. Murha means a foolish person who doesn't know what is his real self-interest. Just like an ass doesn't know his real self-interest. Doesn't know what is good for him. Out of stubbornness, the ass, even if you beat him, he won't like to move, just to show what is his position. I don't need to be told by anybody else. In this verse, Krishna uses the word vimurha, which means more or less the same as murha, but it means vishesh rupena murha, means very specially or especially foolish. Or in other words, a very big fool. Now who has he described as vimurha, a great fool? Those who don't see the most basic thing. Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam vagunanvitam that we are changing from body to body to body, and we are supposedly enjoying in different circumstances. Everyone, every living being in every species is thinking that they are enjoying, but they don't know that their enjoyment is limited by time. That you have to change your body. Very basic point, which everyone, at least in the human form of life, it's expected that someone having come to this human form will take up this knowledge and understand it and base his life on it. As long as we are in the lower species of life, cats, dogs, rabbits, guinea pigs, grasshoppers, how many can you say? You can't even say them all. There are 80 lakh, 8 million species of non-humans. They have no opportunity to understand this knowledge. It's not communicable to them. Nor do they have the brain capacity to understand. They also have some brain. You see that the bees, they can build very nice hives. Or the ants have some social system. So they also have some intelligence. But they don't have the possibility to awaken the knowledge of what is their actual existential position. Just like in this room, there may be some ants crawling. And they're also hearing the Bhagavad-gita class. But they can't understand. Even the sound is entering their ear. But they can't understand. Even if you could learn ant language or however they communicate with each other, it's not within their capacity to understand. There is a condemned species. That means that someone who is very, very sinful in this human form of life, they misuse their human form of life, and they have to take birth in the animal species, lower species of life, in which they can simply live out the fantasy of trying to enjoy. Everyone is living this fantasy, trying to enjoy. The ants are also trying to enjoy this material world. The dogs, the cats, they're all trying to enjoy. But factually there's no enjoyment there. So in the human form of life, if we don't take up this information, if we don't stop to think, what is the purpose of life? Why are we suffering? Or if we don't even perceive that we are suffering, then we are like an ass. An ass is being beaten with a stick. But he doesn't perceive this is suffering. He simply wants to show, I am a very respectable ass. No one should tell me what to do. He'd rather be beaten with a stick than simply walk forward, which will at least solve his immediate suffering. So in the same way, in the human form of life, which we achieve, we come to this human form of life. We have information from the Vedic literatures after many, many births. Now you may say, well, how can we believe this? Well, how can you believe it? How can we accept it? In the modern age, we are trained in the schools to only accept knowledge which is so-called scientifically proven. Unless you can prove something by proof is resting on our sensory perception. Unless you can see something, unless you can see it, don't believe it. But here in Gita, Krishna says, Anupashyanti, vimudha nanupashyanti. Those who are very foolish, they don't take up the process of seeing by receiving knowledge from those who know. Jnana chakshu. Chakshu means eye. So jnana chakshu means seeing by getting knowledge. Now how are we to see what happens after death? How are we to understand what happens after death? You can't make any experiment. Well, you can if you like. You can slit your throat and see what happens. But then you won't be able to use this human form of life because it'll be gone. So, better system to find out what happens after death is to hear from those who know. Why should we presume that no one knows? This is the great mistake of modern civilization. They think that, well, if we can't resolve the question by mathematical inquiry or chemical inquiry or physical or biological inquiry, we can't understand it. But why should there not be those who know? And we see that here we have Bhagavad-gita, upon which Actually, the world's greatest spiritual civilization was based, which gives knowledge of what happens after death. This is the most important question. Practically in modern life, we have covered over this question with this question which naturally comes to mind in the heart of any person, mostly children. Even in childhood, children ask. They ask their parents that, well, where have we come from? Where has the whole world come from? These questions naturally arise. But modern civilization has covered over this essential inquiry about transcendental knowledge, has covered it over with a plethora of information. Now we have the information age. You can get on the internet and get information about so many different things. And there are so many things to do. We were driving the other day, I saw some advertisement, no more boring weekends. 5 days a week is boring enough, but no more boring weekends. I can't remember what the advertisement was for. Maybe it was for some motorbike racing or something. I can't remember. Anyway, the idea is that you should live life very fast, especially in New York. People like to live life very fast. Always do something. Always keep your adrenaline pumping. Pump, 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 and eventually you pump, 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 you burst. You have a nervous breakdown. But always keep on moving. Always do something. You see, this is the sound of New York. Exciting. It's exciting. There's some crime and the cops are coming and they're going to beat someone on the head or something like that. Exciting life. It's dangerous. You don't know. When you're walking in the street, is someone going to come and stick a knife in you? This keeps the adrenaline going. It's good to live a dangerous life. You see, or if you don't like to live too dangerous life, you can go watch some movie of someone doing something, spying on the Russians, but now there's nothing to spy on and it's all finished anyway. Someone driving a car fast, or they have this, I saw in London, they must have it here also, I'm sure, they have some kind of sport where you pay £25 and you jump off some huge height and you go down on a big elastic band or something like that and you pray to God it doesn't snap, because then you'll find out what happens after death. So always you have to do something exciting, but always moving fast and building big buildings. Go and look at the big building. What is there to see? Go down in the subway. What is there to see? Running around fast. Do something. Smoke something. Drink something. Eat something. Always be busy. Always doing something. But actually, what is life all about? You're running around so fast, you don't have time to think at all. We're always thinking how to make money, how to do this, how to go there, how to enjoy this, how to get one girlfriend and keep another one lined up, so when that one's running away, I can get another one. And live life to the full. But however full you live it, you have to die. And what happens then? Foolish people, vimura, they may, well, first of all, they don't even think about that. But if they think, well, we'll find out then what happens. It's a very foolish thing. It's like driving a car fast towards a brick wall, and someone says, well, what happens when we hit the wall? Well, we'll find out then. You sure will find out. You'll find out, you know, but you should think before. That's intelligent. Just like this whole business, what is this business? Invest some money, you're always thinking in advance. What will happen? You try to keep ahead of others, so you can get ahead of them, get some money. Always thinking, planning in advance. Everyone's making some plan in advance. What will I do next weekend so it won't be boring? What should I do? What are the things I can do? I can jump from a big height on an elastic band. That won't be boring. Or I can go to some restaurant I've never been to before. There's Chinese restaurant, Vietnamese restaurant, and Spanish restaurant, and Russian restaurant, and how to get indigestion 300 ways, different kinds of restaurants. So you can try different things. You're planning in advance how to enjoy, but what will happen? You're enjoying, and gradually the body gets older and older and older. I've seen here in America especially, you see even people old and their faces hanging down, and maybe they get it pulled up again, get some operation, and their hair has gone white so they dye it blue, and obviously you can see that they're not going to live very long, but still they're out nightlife, enjoying, dating, and why don't they think? No one wants to think. They're just avoiding the question. Even if you're 80 years old, still trying to enjoy, but not thinking, very soon I'm going to have to die. And even if you're 80 years old, so what? If you're 20 years old, you still have to die very soon. Because you may die within a minute, but even if you live to be 120, you still don't have very long to live. When you're 80, you should know that you really don't have very long to live. But when you're 20, even then, you don't have very long, because you have to die very soon. 1 year comes and goes. Now you see, summer is ending, fall is coming in, and there'll be winter. How many winters have you seen? How many more can you expect to see? What will happen? What am I doing to see? What is my future? You're making so many plans to enjoy next weekend, some retirement scheme, put some money in the bank so you can live happily in your retirement. But what happens at death? Why don't we think about this? Because, Krishna says, we are vimudha, very big fool and rascal. This is the language Krishna uses regularly throughout the Gita. Krishna says, very foolish. Actually, it is a fact. It is very, very foolish not to see that we have to change bodies, that this is miserable. Even your so-called happiness, it's all miserable. Even your plans to get money, even if you get money, so what? No one ever became happy by having a big pile. It doesn't matter. You see, you have some, I don't have. If I happen to have some green pieces of paper here, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be more happy. There are so many people who've got so many millions of green pieces of paper in the bank, and they jump off the top of a building. So how does it help you? In whole modern civilization, very big illusion. You'll be happy by having money, and even those who have money and are not happy, they're thinking, well, I just have to earn another $1 million and then I'll be happy. You already got $1 million, which everyone else is thinking you'll be happy by getting. You're not satisfied. That point Prabhupada used to make, that in Indian civilization, the people, whatever they had, they were content. God has given. According to my karma, I just have some torn dhoti and some little house to live in. Alright, it's my karma. Chant Hare Krishna. Let's get out of this material world. So whatever you have, you are satisfied. When the British came and said, they saw, how are we going to put these people in factories? They're not going to work because they're too satisfied. Actually, one of my friends, he's from America, but he started some ashram in India, in South India, away from where it's in the hills where they still don't have TV, so the people are still quite civilized and spiritually advanced. So he was building his ashram and employing the local people. So being in America, he wanted it done fast. Everything should be done yesterday. Everything should be done quick. But the Indian villages, they don't. Slowly, no big hurry to do it. They're not from New York. So he was thinking that how can we speed up the construction? So he told there's one local man who was working as the site engineer, contractor, supervisor. So he said, I think we should pay them more, then they'll work harder. He said, no, don't pay them more, they'll work less. I can't understand. So anyway, he went against the advice of the supervisor and he paid them more. Then the next day they didn't come to work. So he asked the supervisor, why didn't they come? He said, I told you shouldn't pay them more. They thought, I've got enough to eat today, so why should I come? When I need some money, I'll come again. So the British saw this, that how can we motivate these people? How can we get there? Because the British developed the factories and the railways. And before there was no such thing. There was no Calcutta. There was no Bombay. These are all British inventions. Factory cities. So they thought the people are too satisfied. How can we get them to work like asses and develop our economy? So then they gave them this idea, you have to become greedy. And then you work, you make things in the factory, and then you buy more and more things. And the idea is that you should always try to get more and more and more. And never be satisfied, because if you're satisfied, you'll stop working. And then our economy will collapse. So this, you see, formerly people were content with whatever they had. Be content, chant Hare Krishna. But now the modern way of life is that everyone is pumped full of lust and greed to work more and more and more and never be satisfied. Even if you have millions of dollars, you still have to work more and more and more. So you see the difference? People were satisfied with nothing practically. If they had a little house, some little cloth, a little food, alright. And modern life means even if you have millions of dollars, you'll never be satisfied. Because your lust and your greed will never be satisfied. You can never satisfy. You see, Hiranyakashipu, we have the big shots of the present age. Our Rockefellers and Rothschilds and Bill Gates. They have enough money. They can live happily, so-called, ever after, as in the fairy story. They lived happily ever after. It's the fairy story. No one ever lives happily ever after. They have enough money. They can live. But they want to work more and produce more, get more money and control more. Because lust and greed are never satisfied. And even we have the history of Hiranyakashipu. He conquered the whole universe. But he was not satisfied. Because there is nothing within the whole universe that can satisfy. And we're always trying for them. Even if we get the body of a cockroach, which we will get if we don't chant Hare Krishna. In due course of time, we'll get the body of a cockroach. Guaranteed. You see, even then they're looking for sense gratification. They are thinking, maybe you have, I don't know if you've seen, but in India you see they come out at night, big ones. And they're running around after each other, male and female. And thinking, the male is running after the female cockroach and thinking, oh, how beautiful. They're thinking like that. They're thinking, this, I will be satisfied. This is the illusion. The whole of material life is a big, big illusion that we can be happy. But it's not possible. And even though we see all around us, no one is satisfied. No one is content. Everyone is greedy for more money, more sense gratification. But no one has ever become satisfied. No one is happy. In fact, everyone is frustrated, like anything. These big cities, everyone is extremely frustrated. We see it, but pasyan api na pashyati. Even though we see it, we don't see it. Because we are covered by the great illusion that somehow or other we can be happy by enjoying material life. Therefore, anupashyanti, we should see by hearing from those who have spiritual knowledge. We should develop this jnana chakshush, this seeing by spiritual knowledge. That Krishna says in Gita, how to get that knowledge. Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadakshyanti te jnanam jnananas tattva darshana. Darshan means seeing. Those who have seen what is the actual position. How can you see what is the actual position? By hearing from those who know. So it is required to get this knowledge. It is required, first of all it's required to get this knowledge. It's required to get this knowledge by, in humility, approaching those who have it. By serving them. By inquiring from them. What is the purpose of life? How can we get free from birth and death? These kind of inquiries. But the whole modern civilization especially, this whole idea becomes submissive to others. Not at all. Not at all. Everyone wants to be very proud and strong and stand on your own 2 feet. And how will that help you? That pride, that I'm strong, the rugged individual. Just like the Marlboro adverts. You see, it's supposed to be the tough cowboy. But however tough a cowboy you are, that guy who used to in the advert, he got lung cancer from smoking and he died. You see? So-called tough. But how tough is, everyone is walking, tough, strong. But how tough and strong are you? You'll be struck down by death. Your strong body will go. You may think, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, just like the donkey. He's thinking, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, but he's beaten by a stick. So you may think, I'm so strong, I'm so great, but the actual fact is that we're not. We are like twigs in a river being carried by the waves. So the beginning of knowledge is humility. To understand that I'm a very tiny living being. I don't even know who I am, where I've come from, why I'm here in this world. I didn't choose to be born in this kind of body and this kind of place, but here I am. Why? How did I get here and where am I going to? Where should I be going to? How can I achieve happiness? What is this world all about anyway? These are the kind of questions we should ask. But instead we have our brains filled with all kinds of garbage from the TV and the education system, so much information. But how does it help us? How is it going to help us at the time of death? Therefore Krishna is using very strong language. Don't be vimudha. Don't be a big ass. Don't even be a small ass. Surrender to Krishna. Find out what is the purpose of life. How will you find that out? You can get from Bhagavad-gita so much knowledge. You see, what are the titles of the chapters? The most confidential knowledge. Nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. The conclusion, perfection of renunciation. Such topics. Where are such topics discussed? Where can you get such clear knowledge? Even if we talk about reincarnation, there are many wrong ideas actually about reincarnation. Many people think that you reincarnate and then you become liberated, you become nothing. You simply, you become nothing. Shunyava, Buddhism, to put it clearly. But it's a wrong idea. The sum total of everything is not nothing. It is a mistaken idea. It is an idea that recognizes reincarnation, but doesn't recognize Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because they've not come to the point that why are we rotating in the cycle of birth and death? Because we are envious of Krishna. So they want to get free from birth and death. They want to get free from the suffering, but they don't want to surrender to Krishna. Therefore they have a wrong idea. And therefore, we see in the traditional Buddhist countries that they can't follow even the most basic principle. What is the basic principle that Lord Buddha taught? Ahimsa paramo dharma. That the topmost religion is non-violence. At least actually the topmost religion is to surrender to Krishna. But at least the beginning stage, you should understand, non-violence, don't eat animals. But you'll find in the Buddhist countries, everyone is eating everything. Really. So, I was some time living in Thailand. So you'll find everyone is eating all kinds of meat and insects, rats, dogs, everything. But they don't, you see, they've twisted the understanding. They say, we don't kill any animals because we're Buddhists. But there are Muslims in that country, they are the butchers. All the butchers, they're all Muslims. So we don't kill any animals. We would not do it. We are strict Buddhists. We will not kill any animals. But we'll buy from the butcher shop. They're twisting because they don't understand. They have not received knowledge from the proper source. That if you purchase meat, you also have to suffer karmic reaction. I was explaining this to one lady once in Thailand. That don't you know that you're very fond of eating pork, but as a result, you will have to become a pig in your next life. I said, alright. You shall also enjoy. They're also enjoying. You can't see because they have not received knowledge from the proper source. They think that that's also, actually the pig, if you see the pig, you don't see pigs in New York, only on the TV. If you see their tail is always waggling like this. They're very waggling their tail. Now, they have nice food. It's all the garbage. In this country they eat garbage, and in India they eat stew. Processed garbage. So, and they have free facility for sex, so they feel happy. But ultimately the pig is taken away and slaughtered. And what is that happiness? If you go to India, you'll see there's some open drain where all the stool is from. And the pig will be lying down in very nice, very cool, nice scent, nice smell. They're enjoying it. They think it's very nice. Now, if we understand what is the real position of the living being, he's supposed to be living with Krishna. You see, here is Krishna's Lokavilas. Krishna's very nice pastimes, full of transcendental bliss. But if we forget this, or if we don't take information of this, then we are certain to be degraded into the bodies of hogs and dogs. It's very serious. People don't realize this. Very, very serious. This human life is very, very serious. If we take the opportunity, we can go to Krishna. But if we don't take the opportunity, we have to be degraded into lower species of life. How serious is this Krishna consciousness? You see, Prabhupada came here to New York. He worked so hard in his old age because he had full realization how much people are suffering not knowing this knowledge of Bhagavad-gita, not knowing Krishna. Prabhupada worked so hard and he exhorted his disciples, you also work hard. Try and spread this Krishna consciousness. People are suffering without this. If you misuse your human life, you have to suffer again and again and again. You're already suffering. Take his knowledge and be happy. Prabhupada worked hard to give this to others. So, as Prabhupada writes in this purport, that those who are developed in Krishna consciousness, they should also try to bring this knowledge to others. Every devotee of Krishna has a responsibility to do something to bring others to Krishna consciousness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I order everyone in this universe to take this Krishna consciousness and spread it to others. So just consider, when you go on the street, you see all the people driving in their cars, walking on the street, policemen walking with their guns and their batons, and everyone is suffering because they don't know Krishna. What can we do to bring them to Krishna? Everyone should try to do something to bring others to Krishna. Of course, it's not easy to preach Krishna consciousness, but at least among our family members, among our friends, we should do something to try to bring others to Krishna consciousness. Ask others to chant Hare Krishna, invite them to come here for the program, give them prasadam, have programs in your home, invite people, take Prabhupada's books, give them to others. Try to do something, because otherwise without this knowledge, people are simply suffering now, and they will continue to suffer. But if they take this knowledge, simply this little point of knowledge, they can be happy forever. What is that knowledge? Jeev Krishna Das, Ibishas, Koraleta or Dukonai, Radha Krishna Bol Bol Bolo Reshabal. Very simple point. We simply, we are the eternal servant of Krishna. We are spiritual beings. We don't belong in this material world. We simply have to understand this, and all our problems are finished. And then what? Chant Hare Krishna and prepare to go to the spiritual world. It's a very, very simple thing. We should try to first of all in our lives, we should base our lives on this knowledge, not ourselves be carried away by the grossly materialistic civilization, but base our lives on the understanding that we are servants of Krishna. We have to act in this life to develop our Krishna consciousness. We have to act so that Krishna is pleased. And then we should think also how to spread this knowledge to others, somehow or other. Hare Krishna. Is there any question, please? Well, as Prabhupada said once, someone said, what harm is there if I become a dog in my next life? Prabhupada said, you have my blessings. If someone is so foolish that they think it's nice to become a dog, just give them some prasadam. You can say to them, you tell them that you have to die. Is that not suffering? You have to suffer old age, disease. Is it not suffering? Philosophically, you can pin people down. But if they are vimudha, it means they're determined to be a complete fool. What can you do with such people? Give them prasadam. Even the dog you can give prasadam. Alright, I have a little commercial here. I'm writing books. Prabhupada said that his disciples, they should write books, especially sannyasis. So I've been writing some books and I like to distribute them. I think some of you may have seen some of these before. Here's one called My Memories of Srila Prabhupada, Brahmacharya and Krishna Consciousness. A Beginner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness, we have it in Hindi here also. A Message to the Youth of India. The Story of Rasikananda, who was a great Vaishnava who lived 400 years ago. So these are a few books. If anyone would like to purchase, please do so. Hare Krishna. Please think about what I've said tonight. I know you've all heard these things before, but please think about this, how we should more and more center our lives on Krishna, understanding we don't have much time. We have to become Krishna conscious. And see what you can do to give to others. Give them books, give them prasad, at least ask them to chant Hare Krishna, or even if they won't, at least say Hare Krishna. Because even if they become a dog, at least they heard the holy name. That will help them. We have to try to help people despite their foolishness.